merger of Muncie Central High School and Muncie Southside High School will have many benefits for the community.
It'll bring in new students and help unite the North Side and the South Side. And with the city's combined excellence in both the classroom and on the athletic field, it'll help us to maintain our high standards for our fine arts programs and even allow us to bring in an early start college program.
So let's get excited, Muncie. This is a huge step, a step towards a stronger community for generations to come.
Let's prove to surrounding cities and states that we can come together as one.
One Muncie.
You know, there's that great book, The Tale of Two Cities. Well, Muncie really is the American equivalent of The Tale of Two Cities because there is really a South Muncie, south of the tracks. I mean, we are very prototypical, and north of the track. The idea of two cities, and I don't know the city you come from, but I think you know the term south of the tracks and its implications. That was Muncie. There's actually three Muncies. There's South Muncie, there's North Muncie, and there's Ball State University, the village. And there are many Muncie citizens, mostly in the South Side, who don't believe they even can be on campus. They actually believe that, oh no, that's only for students and faculty, and they don't come here even, what would you say, culturally, because, oh, well, that's where all those educated yuppity-yups live, and we don't belong there. We're blue collar and proud of it. Southside High School opened up in 1962, 5 years before I came here. And again, this was the height of Muncie Chevrolet.
Where now lies empty, warehouse lots once supplied a thriving job market.
The difference was when I was growing up, we had thousands of jobs here. You could graduate from Muncie Central and walk down and get a great job in a week. All you had to have was that high school education, and you could go to work at Chevrolet, Warner Gear, Delco, Acme. You could pick and choose wherever you wanted to go. And you get through the 30 days orientation, and you had a job for life with a great pension and benefits. And most of that's gone.
You probably know that property taxes are what funds school from the state level. The three largest employers in Muncie are Ball Hospital, Ball State University, and the Muncie Community Schools, all of which are non-taxable. We don't pay taxes. Add in all the churches, add in all the city and county parks and buildings and land, and basically 49% of the land in Center Township is non-taxable. Our tax base has eroded away enormously. We would never have dreamt of merging two high schools if it wasn't for the fact that we financially were running in the red and having two high schools at 50% capacity. As a board, we were the first board, for whatever reason, to say, well, we just can't go on like this. We are hurting education by trying to operate two high schools at 50% capacity with no promise that the student enrollment would actually increase. In fact, in the 3.5 years that I have served on the board, we have decreased in the neighborhood of 500 to 700 students a year. That's why we are down into that 6,000, and we don't believe that's going to change, by the way. You could use the word hostile environment, you could use the word adversarial. That was the environment in which we moved forward to close the high school. One of the things that came out of the public meetings, which I think was great, was, well, why can't we have two junior-senior high schools? You know, that would solve some problems. Well, Muncie Central could handle all of the North Side students, okay? Muncie South could not handle all of the Wilson students unless we built 12 more classrooms. But what was done by Ermeline Faulkner, Chief Academic Officer, Ermeline went through all the floor plans, took every course being offered at Muncie Central and Muncie South and showed how they could fit in. Every classroom for every period. The thing I loved about that is I think the community knows that we listened to them and we gave that a real fair shot.
The Muncie community has been divided for years, which has morphed the education between the two schools.
Over the years, and I'm going to try to be very objective here, but I can point to test scores, SAT scores, percentage of students that went on to higher education. To me, there were two levels of education being offered here in Muncie. There was an education that was being offered to the students that lived north of the tracks, and there was a level of education that was being offered to the students who lived south of the tracks. That to me is unacceptable in any community, certainly the one I live in. I said twice at a school board meeting, you know, it's time that we have one Muncie, and if it takes the school board to make that happen, so be it. And one of my colleagues on the board said, that's not the purpose of a school board. So I mean, it wasn't universally, but I truly felt it's time to stop having a two-tier educational system in this community. I knew that at least we needed to give the Muncie Southside citizens a voice. We had to at least offer them the opportunity to have a voice in what was going to happen to their children. Incredibly important. Parental involvement in schools is a constant goal of every school board. And unfortunately here in Muncie, we have come to the conclusion parents are most involved with their children's school at the elementary school level. I mean, I was president of our local elementary school board PTO. Okay, they lessen when they go to middle school, and they become much less when they go to high school, except for if your son or daughter plays a sport, then you become on the booster club for that sport. And very honestly, you don't give a damn about any other sport. So we held 4 town meetings, one at Southside, one at Wilson, one at Northside, and one at Central, figuring that would be the quadrants of the cities. The first one, for good or for bad, we held at Southside High School. Standing room only. The football team all here in their jerseys, all together. So I have been in pretty hostile environments. I mean, people standing up and yelling. And these are what they yelled. They'd point at me and say, his 2 kids went to Central. His 2 kids went to Central. He's not one of us. He's from New York. Okay? Thick skin. Okay. Yeah, my kids did go to Central because that's where we live. It's in our district. Okay? Don't blame me for that. And I feel the South Side has this thing about people on the North Side that, you know, they've got the money, they don't work hard, they're all rich kids going to Ball State, mommy and daddy are paying for them. And in fact, we went to every other meeting in a little school van. There were policemen at all the doors, there was security at all the meetings. I didn't care. I'll defend myself. We did have some board members who were really afraid. I mean, afraid of bodily injury. We knew right out of the gate this was not going to be easy, but quite honestly, we did not expect the level of hostility that we heard. Not only did we hear, but after the first meeting at Southside, a woman posted on her Facebook page. She was a graduate of Southside High School. She lived down in southern Indiana. Of course, they kept up with what was happening. We got a call one Sunday afternoon, and my wife is on Facebook and said, have you read what this woman wrote about Tony on her Facebook page? I'm going to get it as close as I can. Who is this guy Costello? He's obviously not from Muncie. Somebody shoot him. Yeah, and you'll read it. I'm not making that up. Now, you know, that got to the superintendent. He called our head of security, who called the state police, because this was serious stuff. My quote in the paper was, I'm sure the authorities will handle this.
Muncie Central High School and Southside High School had long-standing histories and traditions.
The school was named Southside High School. Their teams were the Rebels. Their logo was a cannon. And I believe until the first black school board member, Hurley Goodall, came on board, they actually flew the Confederate flag under the American flag. Needless to say, they truly looked at their high school as much more than an educational facilities. It was what the South was. My notion is we're going to close 2 high schools and open a new one. My notion was everybody puts a little flesh in the game. Okay? So we're going to lose the Bearcats, we're going to lose Purple and White, we're going to lose Rebels, we're going to lose, you know, the cannon. As a board, we simply decided with one dissenting vote that I think was pretty much, she was from the South Side, she defended the South Side, but we decided we needed to look very seriously at merging. I want to set that notion that people really understood that this was going to be one of the seminal events in Muncie's history. And when the history of Muncie is written about in the future, I think you will find that this event, more than any others, has, if you will, established a roadmap for the future.
Muncie Central was the first recognized high school in the state of Indiana. So they've been around a long time, and as Southside has, they've been here over 50 years. So when you make a decision like that, that's that dramatic, and with all the challenges that the south side of Muncie has dealt with over the years, with the loss of a lot of manufacturing jobs and that, and at one time that end of town was the absolute engine that ran the city of Muncie. When they saw that they was going to lose their high school, I think that's what raised a concern.
Fortunately, because of a new state law, we had enough resignations. We did not have to riff. We did not have to let any teachers go, because we were merging 2 faculties. We were merging 2 math departments, 2 foreign language departments. And thank God, we were able not to have to fire anybody. In a lot of the sports, both coaches have been brought forward, so a head coach and an assistant coach. That was done strictly by their record. All coaches are beloved by some portion of a school, both parents and, and their athletes under them. That's, I think, worked out just fine. Judd Fisher knew, because of his family, being the Fisher family, which were with the Ball family, how important this was going to be. Not since 1962 did this community have a single high school to rally around. We also said loud and clear, you know what? The students are going to be just fine. Loud and clear. Because we knew that a lot of these students, interestingly enough, played AAU sports in the summer together, same basketball teams. They played in the same recreational softball and baseball teams, okay? A lot of these kids were friends. They went to the same churches. Muncie's a small enough community that that boundary was in fact being crossed, not in the perception of many people, but in the younger generation. So it was very, very clear.
I'm really proud of our students and the way that they've rallied and came together. Again, with all of the challenges, and if you saw some of the forums and some of the things that people were saying about the riots and the fights, and this was going to happen and that was going to happen and it's never going to work, none of that ever happened. And I think it was because of a lot of people wanting to step up and really focus on whatever we can to see to it that these kids get a great education. We need to do whatever we can to bring Muncie back together and make Muncie as whole as we can, because at the end of the day, our public school system is so important to our community and for it to work and function properly. I felt like the theme of One Muncie works, and it's something very easy for people to understand and people to get, that it's not about the north side, south side, east side, or west side. It's about Muncie. Now as adults, we need to do whatever we can to help our kids be successful, and we need to work on becoming One Muncie.